Hi, my name is Carrie Ray Barnum. I am the Executive Director of New Shelves Books, and we're here for Free Advice Friday, the hour every Friday where we get together to talk about book marketing, publishing, writing, pretty much anything having to do with the business of being an author and a publisher and marketing your own books. We do take questions live at newshelves.com/FAF, and we also accept questions via email. So if you can't join us live, you can email us at info at newshelves.com, and you can send those in to us and we answer them, and you can catch the replay on YouTube where you can find us at New Shelves Books. We do have a couple of questions that were emailed in this week, so we will jump in with those, and if you're live you can just drop your questions in as we go. The first question here is, I just published my novel on Amazon and I'd like to get some influencers to review it. How do I go about this? Do I send them a PDF, a hard copy? How's it work? So Mary Lou, there are a couple ways that you can reach out to influencers. So you can absolutely reach out to them via email or social media. And typically, if you're asking for an influencer or celebrity, someone like that, to review your book, what you want to do is you want to reach out to them and tell them, hi, my name is, you tell them about you, about your book, and then you have to make a connection with them. My book, Cooking for Kids, is something I'm passionate about. And I know on your YouTube channel, you do a lot of cooking with your daughter. I would love to send you a copy to consider, and if you'd like to review it or anything like that, I'd really love that. Is that something you'd be interested in? So you have to tell them, you have to introduce yourself, of course. You have to make the connection, and it can be, you're an author I've looked up to for a really long time, I've read all your books, but you need to make some connection. And if you don't currently have a connection, go watch some of their YouTube videos, go listen to their podcast. Make sure that you can drop in one personal detail that ties you and them together. I think that's really important that you do that. And then put your ask right in there. Typically, when I'm doing this, what I do is I say, if you're interested in a copy, I'm very happy to send you a link to download a digital, or I can send you a paperback, hardcover, whatever it may be, if you send me an address. Just let me know what you prefer. Now, do keep in mind that if you're sending this to influencers, make sure you know where they live, because you could be promising to send a paperback copy to Tibet. So make sure that you know that in advance and offer them their preference. I mean, if they are just going to take up your book and take their time to look through it, then you want to offer whatever type of book, whatever format of book that they prefer. And you ask. Know that when you do this, you'll get a lot of no's. You will get no responses, and that's okay. Typically, when I talk to my clients, I always tell them it's like the rule of 10, right? So you do 10 celebrities, 10 authors, and 10 people in the field of which your book is in, if you're nonfiction. So if you're writing a book, a cookbook, well, then find 10 people who are either chefs, they're in cookbooks, they're doing culinary school, something. Or if it's a cookbook for kids, well, then maybe a teacher or parents or grandparents. Finding people that really relate to the book on that kind of level, finding celebrities, and then finding people who just are, they've got really big platforms, and those platforms tie into whatever you're writing about. And then you reach out to them. I will say you probably will only get a response from maybe 10%. And of that 10%, one or two might jump on board. Several of them may say, sure, I'm happy to do that. That's going to be $1,000. So be aware that there may be a price associated, and you can at that time say, oh, it's not on my budget right now, but thank you so much for getting back to me. Or you can decide to pay them if you feel it's worth it. There is a very well-known author. I won't put any secrets out on the internet, but there is a very well-known author that insiders in the industry know that if you reach out to him and offer to pay $1,000, he will blurb just about any book. Just about. I mean, there is some vetting, of course, but sure, you want to use my name? It's a grant, no big deal. And they just put it out there. And if you know, you know. And so there are people who will do that. They do put a cost associated. And there are some people who feel like it's worth the money to get that big name on their book cover, their front book cover as their blurb, whatever it may be. Sure. I got you. I got you, girl. And so I think that it's just, there are people who will do it. There are people, there are authors in the business who are like, hey, my name has credibility and it's worth something. So I'll give it to you, but you're going to pay me for it. And they trade off of their name and they make money doing it. You can't hate someone for working with what they got and earning a living, I guess. So there is that. And you will get a blurb, but it's pretty standard. It's a little bit, it's not like personal, like, wow, I really love the scene, when it's not like that, but still kind of cool. But the point is, and I say this all the time, if your book's not seen, it can't be bought. And if you don't ask, you can't get. So if you don't submit for professional reviews, guess what you're not going to get? Professional reviews. You don't send out and ask endorsers or celebrities or people in your field to endorse your book or to review your book, you're not going to get it. The worst they can do is say no. So that's kind of what it is. All right, I'm hearing from Wendy, I might be freezing up. We actually have a very big incoming storm, so hopefully it's not too bad, but let me know if it continues on. It looks like, okay, so it's fine for Tara. It might be your internet, Wendy. My internet doesn't say it's unstable, but thank you for letting me know. Wouldn't be the first time I was just talking away and didn't realize that it was freezing up. All right. Eileen, when lit agents want you to send your sample pages in an attachment, do they mean underneath your name in the same email of your query so they can see your work, or literally as an attachment where they open it in the same email and open it as a separate tab? So typically, Eileen, if they're saying as an attachment, they mean as an attachment, either as a Word or a PDF doc. If they want it in the body of the email, they will say paste it below in the body of the email. So an attachment, they typically, again, mean that they actually want you to attach it separately, not put it in the body of the email, which is typically, if they're taking notes or anything like that, they would want it in the document rather than on email. It's much easier to put a little comment blurb there than otherwise. I'm a college student majoring in graphic design, and I'm working on an anime graphic novel idea that I post on social media. I wanted to know how to get started on getting it published as a book in this genre. I love that. I actually spoke to a graphic novel and anime publisher this week. Not many people realize or know that graphic novels and anime is one of the fastest growing genres and highest grossing over the last few years, especially with kids. I mean, adults like it too, let's be honest, but kids, as it gets harder and harder to keep their attention and get them to read with everything that they're constantly looking at devices and social media and all the things. Kids are having a harder time reading chapter books. And what teachers and librarians and parents have found is that graphic novels are a way that kids enjoy reading more. It doesn't feel as threatening as a full page of text. So graphic novels and things are a growing industry. So smart and amazing to get into it. As far as getting that published, I think you have a couple of options. You can continue growing your following by sharing little pieces of that so that you're building your platform. But then you have to decide if you would like to take that graphic novel and do you want to pitch it out to an agent? Do you want to pitch it out to a publisher? Because this is a little bit of a niche, you may be able to pitch directly to publishers. But for that, they're going to want a completed manuscript. So that's one option. You can also self-publish or indie publish a graphic novel. However, keep in mind, graphic novels are one of those things that it is a little bit, I don't want to say harder, there are more considerations when self-publishing. Because if you're self-publishing a graphic novel, typically it's got a lot of imagery and it's got a lot of colors, which means if you're printing on demand, the cost is going to be high. And that's something to consider. Whereas if you're working with a publisher more likely is going to do offset print, work with a book distributor, and then get you out that way. I think you can do either one, but you certainly need to consider that. And most importantly, if you're a college student, if you're a little bit younger and you're starting out, write, create, and keep on creating. The authors who really make it long term are those who keep on writing. I've heard a stat somewhere at a conference that I was at, and I don't know personally how true it is. It might have even been anecdotal, but I had heard this stat that the average author has 10 books in the works or completed before they're actually picked up by an agent, because they try one book and they query it out and they keep on writing and they keep on starting this idea and this idea. And agents love that because you have to sell them on one project. But if they're going to work with you, they want to work with you in the long term. They want a partnership that will benefit them beyond just one book if they're going to invest their time in you. And so having more product, more ideas, more work is definitely the way to get there. So no matter if you decide to self-publish, if you decide to go the indie route, or you decide to pitch publishers, I think it's so important that you just keep on creating. Even if you're getting no's right now, keep on creating, because you never know what you'll want to do with that work later down the road. And also, I know when I was just in Orlando for that conference, one of the things that we were talking about with some of the newer writers is that if you are writing a book, if you're currently working on a book, or if you intend to continue writing, get plugged in with a writers group, either a general writers group in your area or a group that is specifically for your genre. It's amazing to find there are romance writers groups, there are mystery writers groups, there are just local writers groups. Some will meet at your library or have specific organizations, but it's so important to have other people. The networking and getting in with other people who will give you honest feedback as someone else in the profession. It's really hard when you're trying to get feedback from someone who's not writing or is not creating in the same space that you are, because my kids show me their pictures all the time and I'm like, oh honey, that's so good, I'm so proud of you. But if I'm working with even a child who is working on a book, I'm going to say, this is really good. However, let's kind of look at this. Could you bring out this color? What can you do? Because it's a totally different space. So I think it's important that you connect with writers or other people who really are willing to give you honest feedback and help you grow. And a writers group or a creative group is a really great spot to do that and to network and kind of get more information and ideas. Conferences are great places for that. And I think that especially in writing, which can be a very lonely profession, it can be something where you kind of are in your own head doing it yourself. It can be really great to brainstorm and get ideas off of that. I work with quite a few authors and things who, like, that's what we do. I jokingly say, I'm like, yeah, I'm half book marketing and I'm half here for just your like mental brainstorm and mental health sessions. And so it does help to have people in the same boat as you. And I think that's really important. All right, let's see. Love it, love it. Just finally started an Amazon ad campaign for my self-published KDP book. What are your top 3 tips for maximizing success at this step? My top tips for Amazon ads is read the data. Don't react too quickly. I always give ads a week to 2 weeks so that they have time to really gather data before I look at them too hard. And then you have to read the data. I do have a video on YouTube for how to read the data on your ads. And I think it's really important that when we're looking at the clicks, the impressions, the information, that when we're looking at it, that we are really looking at it with an eye of what it's telling us and how we can adjust from there. I had someone not too long ago who's like, my ads are horrible. I turn them all off. They stink and I'm not doing it. And I was like, okay, well, let's take a look together. Let's kind of take a look and see what's up. I'm pasting the link to the YouTube video on looking at ad data. So we looked at it and I was like, your ads do not suck. Your ads were actually selling books and making you money. And he was like, but I'm only getting one sale out of like every 7 clicks. And I was like, so you're paying 35 cents for, times 7. I'm not going to try to do the math, but then you're selling this book that, by the way, this book is like $100 book, and he's getting royalties off of $100 book. And so it's all in reading the data. Recently, I just did an ad with someone where we had set up ads and we came back to look at them. And we're looking at the ads and I'm like, your ads, actually, the click-through rate was amazing. The click-to-order ratio was really good, but the impressions were so low. We had like 2,000 impressions over like 2 weeks, which is so low. So then we need to look at and say, okay, why are our impressions, why is our visibility so low? And it was because maybe we didn't have enough keywords, maybe we weren't competitive enough with our budget in that genre. But that is it's just one tip, really. Read the data and respond to the data, not to your feelings, not to feeling rejected or dejected, but read the data and respond in kind. And this one's kind of hard. If the data tells you something, you have got to take action. I was doing ads with someone recently and I said, look, you're getting a ton of clicks, but you're getting no sales. You know what that means? There's something on your sales page that is the problem, whether that be your book description or your price, or your cover is advertising something that you're not describing on the inside. There is a break between someone seeing your book and saying, I like this, and buying it. What's there? You have got to change things and see if you can capitalize on that. So the easiest thing to change is your price. If your price is at $9.99, can you drop it down? If you drop it down, are you going to convert more? If you're still not converting, if you drop your price down, then if you drop it down and you're still not getting sales, then my friend, you got a bigger problem. It's either your description is not selling the story or your cover and your description are not aligned. And I'm actually seeing that. I'm seeing that a couple times recently where a book cover is in one genre and then the book description doesn't line up with that. And so then the question has to be asked, what is your story truly about? Are you in the right genre? And maybe you need to adjust. Maybe you need a new cover. Maybe you need a new description. I don't know. But when you see the data, you can't be like, oh, it's just a fluke. I don't know why 300 people clicked on my sales page and no one bought it. No, we've got to read the data, because they're not going, oh, this is a horrible book and it's not worth reading, because unless you've got terrible reviews or something like that. So there's something there and you've got to figure out what it is. And that's the biggest thing. And it does take time, it takes effort. Watch that YouTube video so you can kind of, dig in for yourself, but give the time for the data to build up and then listen to the data, adjust, and try again. So many times in marketing, I was talking to another marketer, a digital marketer, and I was like, look, sometimes we just try things and we go, let's see if it works. And we try, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And just because something doesn't work doesn't mean it was wasted time, money, or effort. It means it told us this doesn't work. So what does that tell us about our next campaign? What does that tell us about what's coming next? It's all about learning, adjusting, and growing. And it's something you have to repeat over and over again. Let's see. How long does it take to populate data on Amazon ads? That is a good question. Typically, again, I wait a week to 2 weeks. If it's your very first ad, if you have not had a number of sales on a book, it's your very first ad, consider waiting about 2 weeks for some ad data. It can take that long just for the algorithms to kick in, for ads to really get started and start serving. So a week minimum, up to 2 weeks is really what you want. And then you make small adjustments from there, and then you give it another week or 2. Awesome. Jacqueline, let us know how it goes. Report back. Let's see. I had another question from Wendy. There is a popular website that we often recommend and use. So Written Word Media is the company that has Free Booksy, Bargain Booksy, those discount newsletters that I've talked about fairly often as a place and a way to market your discount ebooks. They're kind of like a mini BookBub. They're a smaller version of BookBub, and they're fantastic. And they have more recently started doing ads, Facebook ads in particular, that they're trying to sell along with their discount ebook promotions. They will say, oh, we're doing ads for these specific genre of ebooks. We're doing ads for audiobooks is their newest one. And so I get questions all the time. Is it worth it to have them do ads for my audiobook? You know, like it's always sometimes a struggle to find ways to market your audiobook. Here's the thing. Do I think those ads are they good? Sure, they probably are. But here's the thing. All they're doing is putting up a Facebook ad that leads to your book on audio, on Chirp or wherever it may be. And it's just an ad on Facebook that is specifically targeted to audiobook listeners. So does it work? Probably. However, you're going to pay someone else to run that ad for you and then pay for your ad spend. And typically, I don't know for sure, I don't work there and I don't have an insider scoop, but typically these ads are actually going to like a landing page with multiple books in the genre. So it's not necessarily just dedicated to your book and your audiobook marketing. So that's great for someone who just is not on social media, who is just overwhelmed by it and can't run their own ads. But my friends, if you have your own Facebook author page, if you can run your own ads, why wouldn't you take that budget and run your own ads for your audiobook that are very specific to your audiobook? It's got audiobook imagery, it's targeted to audiobook listeners, and market your own book out. And instead of paying $300 to use $100 ad spend and pay someone $200 for your ads, why don't you take $300 and put it all in your ad spend and do a little bit of work? I understand for everyone, that's just, for some people, it's just too much and they can't do it. And that's fine. I have always said there is value in knowing either your weaknesses or the things you just don't have time for. And sometimes it's worth the money to pay someone else to do something for you so it gets done. You got to make that decision for yourself. However, you are perfectly capable of running your own Facebook ads for your books, for your audiobooks. All it is it's just simply making sure that you're targeting that group. So target people who follow things like podcasts, Spotify, Overdrive, libraries, people who are listening to Pandora, listeners, and maybe even Chirp Books. I don't know if that's an option on Facebook, but essentially you're going to target what you think is going to be the interest in the demographic of your audiobook. And then you create an ad image and ad copy that says, are you looking for your next great book to listen to? I've got a great one for you. So rather than talking about reading and portraying people reading, you're just going to talk about listening. You're going to have someone with headphones on listening to a book, or looking really happy listening to a book. Or, they don't have to have a book with them. They just have to have headphones on. We just have to know that they're listening to something, and then put that offer out there and tie it into whatever your genre is. Are you looking to get healthy, but you feel like you have no time? That's all right. I've got the perfect audiobook for you. You can listen as you drive, as you do your chores, and take steps to a healthier, happier life. And there you go. You've got an ad that tells someone that your book is about getting healthy, that they can listen even if they're busy, and you're sending them directly to your audiobook page. So that is what I personally would do. I don't think that the written word ads are bad. I don't think the company's bad. They offer a service, and if you need that service, go and get it. But I am saying that if you're willing to do a little bit of work yourself, not only do you get your own data, specific for your book that you can work off of and you can grow and you can use over and over again. But rather than paying someone else for their time, you're going to put your time in and you're going to have more ad budget to use. Because if you're constantly paying someone else to run your ads, if you're constantly paying for someone else's time and the ad budget, unless you're selling a whole lot of books, it's going to be really hard to make that money back and certainly to earn a profit on your hard work. So you've got to figure out your goals and see what your goals align with, how much time you have, how much you are willing and able to invest. This is why personally, when I run ads for people, when I run Amazon ads, when I run Facebook ads, we do it all through their own accounts so that when we're working together, we're building up the data in their account for their market. So when we're done, they are either left with the keywords, they're left with ads that they can continue running because they work, and they are left with the audience that has been built for them. So when we're done, it's like, okay, like we've got you off the ground, but now you have your audience. And on Facebook in particular, when you set up an audience, it saves. It's amazing. So it saves. So next time when you're ready to run an ad for your audiobook, you just say, hey, I'm going to boost this post for my audiobook. I'm going to pick the audiobook audience that was already created, and I'm going to do $2 a day for a month. So it's going to cost me 60 bucks. Click, 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 done. And then you're all set up. Of course, you have to continue reading the data and all of that, but it does get easier over time. So if you're going to invest in ads, I would highly recommend that you either learn how to do them yourself, because there's lots of free resources out there, and or you work with someone who's going to set up ads in your account so you get the full value of your data and the growth and the opportunity for the next time, rather than just paying to play over and over and over again. Same reason why I say absolutely, I recommend that you use discount ebook newsletters. But I also recommend that you have something of value in your book, a click over, so that you can build value in your own platform by getting people over to your platform to give you their email addresses so you can market directly to them next time. If we're going to pay someone else, have a strategy in mind, a long-term strategy of how that's going to pay off. Is it something that you're going to invest in right now, but you've got a long-term plan? Or are you simply paying to get it done right now, and then you're going to start back at the same place a month from now? That might fit with your goals, but it might not. And knowing a lot of you on this call, I'm going to guess that it's not what most of you would want. So that is something to consider, because I think that's important. All right, let me see here. Again, if you've got questions, drop them in the Q&A. I think. Let's see. I had a question, I've got to find it, but I had a great question recently about, there we go. A great question recently about whether or not an author should make their own cover art, not design the cover, but make their own cover art. And if you are artistic, first, be honest with yourself about your skills. If art is not your thing, or if you really I love to paint. I find it very therapeutic to paint, but guys, like my people still have like uneven legs and 3 arms, and not because I tried to do that, but that's just because I'm not very good at it. My sister, on the other hand, she just dabbles and she comes up with like these beautiful paintings, and mine next to it looked like a 5-year-old did it. We both enjoy ourselves. We have a great time, but I have to be honest with my skill level. So I think that's very important on your skill level. But also, I think it's very important that if you're going to create some type of art for your cover, that you work with a cover designer who's willing to work with that and who will give you honest feedback and opinion. And you've got to be open to it on how to place that. You may have beautiful artwork, but your artwork may be the focus rather than the title. You've got to have your title front and center. There's a composition to a book cover that's really important to engage a reader's eye. And so if you're doing that, if you're creating your own cover art, you've got to have someone who will honestly say, I love this. I love this piece of art. However, this art has no room for the typography, or it's too centrally located. We would need to push this design to the side and then have more open space here for the typography, because I love your art, but your art is not the sole focus, or should not be the sole focus of a book cover. So I think it's really important that, again, you work with someone, you don't take offense. And sometimes I've heard it more than once, but I love this art so much, and I think that's what people want to see. And the truth is, they may love it also. However, they want to know what the dang book title is, and that's what they want to see. So, I mean, as always, if you're surround yourself with honesty, surround yourself with people, whether you pay them or it's a writer's critique group, surround yourself with people who will give you honest feedback, and then it's your job to put your ego aside and to listen to them. When I work with clients, I always say, you hired me. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You make the final decisions. That's why you're indie publishing, or that's why you hired a consultant. However, I'm going to give you my honest opinion, and my only ask, and I've fired clients over not doing this. My ask is not that you listen to everything I say and just do it, but that you listen to what I say, you truly listen, take it into consideration, and we have a conversation about it. If you say, well, I understand what you're saying, and I understand it may hurt the sales of the book, but I'm not doing this for sales. I'm doing this as a piece of artwork that I want my grandkids to have. Great. Those are your goals, and I can support them. But I need you, and I hope that you, when you are working with people or you're in a critique group, that you take the time to actually listen, not just hear, but to listen and to take into consideration. That's how you grow, and that's how you get better. And if you've hired people, or you surround yourself with like good people, they're not here to poo-poo on your idea. They're not here to just put you down. They're giving honest feedback because they care and they want to help make your work the best it can be. So if you are going to create your own cover art, again, let me just say, fantastic. Make sure that you're working with someone who will help you incorporate that in a professional way that fits the publishing industry. And if that's too hard for you, if you can't detach yourself from the artwork enough to do that, maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe your artwork is a free downloadable that gets people onto your newsletter list, and it can simply be your art or something along those lines. So keep that in mind. Do I have names of cover designers who work with original artwork? I have a couple that do, but very often they will not commit until you have sent over the artwork and they need to look at it, and they need your design ideas first. I found that over and over again. There are some people who are willing to do that, but they want to see the artwork first before they commit to it. And that's very common. And sometimes they'll say, can we take this idea, but can we digitalize it? Or can we take this idea and turn it into something else? Or do you literally want this painting on the cover? You can find people who do just about anything if you pay them. That doesn't mean they're good at it, and it doesn't mean it's in your best interest, but absolutely. Is it true that once you've self-published a book, a real publisher won't touch you? If not, what's the best way to transition to a real publisher once you've already been self-published? So I'm going to go to the New Shelves website, because we have a blog from Amy Collins, who's a literary agent. We have a blog all on this and about pitching yourself or getting a publisher after you have been self-published. And so I'm going to pull that up. Let's see if I can find it. And so, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. The name of the blog is How Do Self-Published Authors Get an Agent, which then leads hopefully to a publisher and a publishing deal. So the short answer is this: you can go into traditional publishing after you self-published. However, it's really important to realize They will be looking at your self-published work, and they will be looking at your numbers sold. They will be looking at the success. They'll be looking at what went into that. A great agent is going to say, you know, they self-published first to really hone in their craft and to learn the business of publishing. And now they're ready to be a great partner and work with a more traditional publisher. That is a way that you can kind of use that self-publishing to work together with a traditional publisher. But again, that traditional publisher is going to be looking at your sales numbers. They are going to be looking at your social media presence and how you did marketing your own book. If you sold a lot of books, if you really built up your platform, then it's a positive. But if you put a book out that kind of languished and did nothing, that's going to be a little bit harder to turn. And also really important to realize, a publisher, unless you are in the sweet spot of like getting really popular, but not totally oversold yet, like 10,000 copies sold in a year, but not 30,000. Typically, a publisher is not going to pick up mid-series. If you self-publish book 1, don't try to query book 2. No one wants to jump in mid-project. They don't want to jump in on book 2. They want you to start a new series or do a standalone or something else. So if you are in a series, if you self-publish book 1, you're pretty much stuck in the self-publishing world or the indie author world for that series. If, however, you've done a standalone and you're moving on, you do have opportunity, but you're going to have to kind of, as anywhere, whether you're starting from scratch or you've already self-published, you've got to kind of put your name out there, and you've got to say, look, this is what I've did, this is the platform I created, and I know I could do so much more with a great partner. You know, can we work together, essentially? So it can be done. You're not stuck self-publishing forever. Although I have also had some people who did self-publish, went the traditional route, and then were like, hey, I'm doing almost as much work and not getting as many royalties, and I don't have control. I want to go back. I want to go back to the self-publishing world. And they do sometimes, or they have different pen names. They've got a pen name for the traditional world, and they've got a different name for their indie world. So again, it can be done for sure. Depends on your goals and what you've done so far. Let's see, how important is the bio in the book? I keep rewriting mine and it still seems boring. Wah, wah. But at this point, I'm delaying my formatter. So it depends. How important is your bio? If you are a nonfiction author, your bio is really a way to establish your credibility. It's for people to know you a little bit, but it's to establish your credibility. You know, Carrie Barnum is a marketing expert who has worked with XYZ and done this, this, and this. Essentially, it's a way to brag on yourself a little bit. If you are in fiction, then most of the time, yeah, absolutely, New York Times bestseller, but also I have kids and puppies. It's a way to relate. So your bio has two purposes: to give credibility and to connect and relate to your audience. So I think that's its job. How important is it? Like, is it one of those things where it's like, man, you messed up your bio, you're dead to me? No, it's not like that. I think it's important, but it's not all important. Typically, it's going in the back of the book, unless you are in nonfiction. If you're in nonfiction, your bio and your picture may go on the back cover of your book, or if you've got a hardcover, it will go on the back flat. If you're in fiction, it is dated in most cases to put your bio and your photo on the back of the cover. That is not really what trends anymore, unless you're like super world famous. Again, if you have a hardcover, goes on the back flap, your photo and your bio. But if you're in fiction, in paperback, it's not so much the trend to put your bio and your photo on the back cover anymore. So it's going inside. Again, these people have already read your book. So your bio then is to connect. If you're nonfiction, it's like, hey, I'm a powerhouse. And part of what sells a nonfiction book is the the credibility of the author writing it. If I'm going to write a book on publishing, then part of what would sell that is not just, hey, I wrote a book on publishing because I thought it was really fun. No, no, no. Here's what you're getting from this book. And I wrote the book on publishing because it's my passion, it's what I do, and I'm really good at it. Here are my credentials. So it depends on your genre and it depends on what you're doing. Yes, it's important, but inform and relate. Those are the two things. If you hit those marks, you'll be good. Make sure that in your bio or at the end, you give a way for people to connect with you. If you'd like to get in touch with Elaine or learn more, be sure to visit, Elaine.com. So making sure that you've worked that in there, but it's not life and death. And yes, we've all read those author bios where we're like, oh, that's so pithy, or like, oh, they sound like a fun person. And if that's you, if you're in fiction, or if that's just your personality, absolutely let that shine through. But then there's some of us who are like, man, I sound really boring on paper. Oh, I guess people just have to get to know me. Make sure that your bio just hits your personality. And sometimes we're not that loud on paper, and that's okay. You don't have to have something sparkly and shiny if you've sold people on your amazing story. Sometimes you don't have to be screaming out loud from your bio section. Personal opinion. Now, should you add a little interesting tidbit? I think that's one of the coolest things to do, actually, is just to have a little interesting little thing, like known for being struck by lightning when she was 10 years old, or, Carrie really loves to cook with no recipes. Something like that is something that people typically remember. So if you've got something like that that you can drop in, I think that's fun. Let's see. Author Mary Jane Hathaway got a self-published series picked up by Kensington, but it was after the series was out. Yes. So again, Walt, there is that sweet spot where sometimes a series will get picked up and republished, but when that happens, you really have to find a sweet spot of sales. You need enough sales that the publisher thinks they can still make money off of you, but not so many sales that they feel like your audience has already bought the book and there's no more left. So it can be done. It actually has happened with Amanda Hocking, who is a young adult author. She has, I think it's the Tyrell series or something like that. It's a young adult series that she self-published, and then it came out later with the publisher. Like, they kind of scooted it under the rug and it came out later with the publisher. It happens. There are actually usually interns at publishing houses whose job it is to scour the internet to find good indie published work that's really good, that's rising, that like has meat on the bones, but that's not being marketed to full potential. And their job literally is to find these kind of unicorns and bring them back to the publisher and say, I think that this is someone worth looking into. And sometimes the publisher will say, we like this. We think there's more money to be made if we had our full marketing power behind it. And so they will then go offer a publishing deal to that author. It happens. It happens. I would even say it happens all the time, because there are literally people who do this. That's their job. But there are 4 million books published every day, or not every day. I'm sorry. There are about 4 million books published a year. Statistics tell us, especially with all of the indie ebook publishing happening on Amazon, about 4 million a year. And this probably happens to maybe 20, maybe 100 on the high side. So it happens, but it's not like it's happening to everybody. So if that happens to you, I want your story and I want to hear all about it, but I would not hang your hat on that happening. I would plan for other opportunities. And I think it's always great to I would love to find out I have a rich uncle somewhere who's going to bequeath me with, I don't know, his whole estate in England. However, I'm not planning my retirement on that. So I think absolutely it's cool when it happens. It can happen, but it's not something that we should plan our futures on. All right, let's see. I think I missed a question here. I'm thinking of starting a Substack, which is like a newsletter type thing, a following by sending out snippets of my book along with a link to the book site. What do you think of this idea? I think it depends on you, what you're doing with it. I've seen Substack work for authors. Many of them who are on Substack, I will say, are authors who are nonfiction, who are putting out a lot of that kind of content, like cookbook authors and things like that. I've seen it work for authors, but again, it depends on how you're going to use it. I think no matter what you do, getting a personal connection, a personal email list, a subscription, whatever it is, directly aligned to your audience is always a good thing. Anytime that you can directly contact and connect with your readers and build up that way is a smart thing. I think that is how you can really build up your platform. And once you have that email address, that is your contact. You're not paying Facebook to show it to them or anything like that. Yeah, Kim saying she uses Substack as her newsletter. So yeah, I mean, I think it's if you're going to use it, great. You have to have a plan with it. As with anything, you have to have a plan, not just, I think I want to do this, but to have a real plan of how it works. So can Substack work? Yeah. Can Patreon work? Patreon, where people like support you and they pay like a monthly fee to get special content and access. Absolutely. There are authors who make good money that way. There are people using BookFunnel to get a email mailing list. I have recently been participating in some of those group promos and pushing those out for clients. I have someone that got 400 signups last month just from that, 400 new people to our newsletter list. Using MailChimp, MailerLite, Substack, whatever works for you. The most important thing is just that you are not just getting people to see your book and getting them to buy your book, but that you are collecting your readers' information somehow, so that you then have the power to reach out to them when your book launches, when you need reviews, when you have your next big launch. That's the most important thing, in my opinion, that you have a direct line and a direct email address, because rather than paying Facebook to reach all your readers, you're just going to send an email and you can reach your readers that way. So I know I say it a lot and I harp on it, but building up your email list is one of the most important things you can do. That's how you reach your readers. It's how you grow. And I have seen personally authors I work with, when they grow their email newsletter list is when their next books start to do so much better. You want to hit a bestseller list coming out of the gate with a pre-order, you need a newsletter list for sure. Tara, one of the most important things you can do, it's a really hard one, build your email list. I think so. And I'll say it again. I mean, I have kids. I'm not afraid of repeating myself again and again and again. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yes, I did red nails. All right, you guys. Yeah, so Caroline, 400 emails through BookFunnel, through group promos on BookFunnel, not Book Sweeps. Book Sweeps is like a giveaway program where you enter in with other people, and they essentially get a lot of people to sign up for email newsletter sites to enter to win something. So rather than, it's something where they're entering to win and then those email addresses are given to you, but they don't necessarily have a personal connection to you, to your writing, or to the author. With a BookFunnel giveaway, you are giving them a short piece of content, whether, well, short or not. I've done this with full-length novels. I have done this with short stories. I've done this with novellas. It is a piece of content that you can give away to a potential reader for free. And so you're going to give them this piece of content absolutely free. Kind of, they're going to pay you with their email address. And so they are going to go to your landing page and be like, yeah, I really like this kind of story. So I'm going to download it for free as a PDF or as an ebook. And I'm going to download it for free and give you my email address. So rather than Book Sweeps, which is kind of like, hey, just enter to win, this is someone actually deciding and choosing that they like what you're offering. They like your content. They like your style. And then they're going to download, read this piece of content for free, whether it be a short story, a novella, full-length novel. And then, here's the good part, in the back of that, because you're only using this content here, in the back of that freebie, you can say, by the way, if you like this, I've got all my books on Kindle Unlimited. Here's my author page link. You can say this was a prequel to my series. If you want to start book 1, here's all the information. Or, you know, sign up. Oh, they've already signed up for your newsletter list. You don't even need them to go to your website. They've already signed up. And then you can start to market to them. So one of the big differences here is that you're not just getting people interested in free stuff. You're getting interested readers who have expressly shown interest in your work, your style, your genre, and sometimes your series. And you're using that, because then you're not just getting people who want free stuff. There are people who want your free stuff, and you might be able to convince them to pay you for their next thing. So in my opinion, it's a more qualified person on your email list than doing sweepstakes or something like that, because they're specifically interested in what you have to offer and they're signing up for your list. I personally love doing group promos where we do them, and then I do Amazon ads for them, because you have to promote your link. It's a link that you all share, and you have to promote your link. I do it with Facebook ads, and building up has been amazing. Again, I did this. I did it as a surprise. I was like, so Paula, I know I didn't tell you this, but remember that short story I convinced you to write? I gave it away last month, and I know your book launches tomorrow. Here are 400 new email addresses of people who like your work. And then found out that she had another piece of content that actually tied into her series. So now we're trying it with that. But for what was essentially my book funnel subscription, which I have anyway, group promos are free. So we joined a group promo, and I think I did 10, or it might have been 20 on the top end, $20 worth of Facebook ads. We pushed it out. 400 new email subscribers that are actually interested in that author and her work. I think it's a great idea. And yes, I think that there are probably still going to be unsubscribes, but a lot fewer than with the sweepstakes. So the thing here for authors is you may have to create new content. This should not be an epilogue to your last book. It should not be a story that people won't relate to. It needs to be a piece of content that is either standalone or leads in to one of your books. It needs to be a prequel or something. And I've had these be 5 pages. I've had them be 50 pages. It just depends. But absolutely, it works, and I am having such success depending on, you know, what the content is and what the readership is. But I think it's a fantastic thing to do, and it's really working for me right now. So I'm going to keep on doing it. All right, you guys, it's right at 11 o'clock. I'm going to run. I hope you join us next week again, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you can't join us live, send an email with your question. We'll answer it live. You can watch the replay on YouTube, and we will be back here next Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern at newshelves.com/FAF. See you then. Bye.